Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Christine, and today I'm going to share an overview of Amplify's ELD 6-lesson cycle. By the end of the session, I hope you will have an understanding of each lesson day's activities so you can effectively plan and pace your lessons. One question we often get is, why is Amplify ELD in a 6-lesson cycle? The 6-lesson cycle ensures that students get repeated practice with the same types of listening, speaking, reading, and writing activities over the course of the school year to build their language skills. Routines and lesson activities are repeated because English learners respond well to structure and consistency. This allows them to spend more time on content and skill practice rather than on understanding new concepts. This regular cycle also allows you more flexibility to move activities around that will work with your pacing and the needs of your students. Within each lesson, all English learners will work on the same skills and content. Different activities within the lesson are designated for either emerging, expanding, or bridging levels so that students get the level of scaffolding they need. You will see this leveling in vocabulary, grammar, writing, and reading. Unlike ELA Core, where the levels are embedded in the activities, in ELD, each level has its own stream in the lesson map. Let's get started by looking at the overview of the 6-lesson cycle. The first lesson of the 6-lesson cycle is called Conversation and Collaboration. This is gray because the lesson is different from the rest of the lessons. It's off tablet and non-digital and doesn't include the same set of repeated activities that lessons 2 through 6 have. Even though lesson 1 is offline, the lesson is available as a PDF in the digital lesson. Compared to the digital lessons 2 through 6, each lesson 1 is unique and varied. Often lesson 1 will prepare students to read the passage by focusing on a theme in the text that students will be reading in the coming lessons. Lesson 1 was also designed to meet all of the other ELD standards and activity types that didn't fit neatly into our repeated digital cycle, like oral presentations, collaboration projects, and writing process drafts. Many of these activities students will do over the course of 2 to 3 lessons. Because lesson 1 is always unique, it's important to print this lesson out a few days before you plan to teach it so you have enough time to prepare. Lessons 2 through 6 are all digital and are designed around 2 reading passages. However, as you can see from the shared colors in the cycle, lessons 2 and 4 and 3 and 5 are similar in activity types. The shift is writing in lessons 2 and 3 and grammar in lessons 4 and 5. Notice too that lesson 6 is blue, and this is also a different one. Let's look more closely at each of the lesson days. Lessons 2 and 4 are the lessons that introduce and connect students to a new reading passage. Students at all 3 levels will get new vocabulary and interactive activities to support them in understanding the passage. Each level is in its own stream with its own icon, the same leveling icons as in ELA. Next, students read and discuss the passage. Students read the passage with their teacher and answer and discuss basic comprehension questions to ensure their understanding of the passage. After this, they have an opportunity to make a personal connection with the What's Your Story activity. This is a partner activity where students tell a story about a personal experience based on a theme or topic from the passage. This speaking and listening activity prepares students to write the story they just shared in conversational writing. Following the writing, they share as they do in ELA Core. If they are in lesson 4, instead of writing, they do grammar activities. In lessons 3 and 5, students have a second lesson with the vocabulary and reading passage. Students begin these lessons with vocabulary activities that review, extend, and build on the words in the previous lesson. Next, students read and discuss the passage again, but this time they have an academic discussion, using evidence from the text to support their opinions and engage in class discussion. Sentence starters and frames support students in learning how to agree, disagree, and support their ideas. This group discussion generates students' ideas and prepares them to write a response to text and then share. If they are in Lesson 5, instead of writing, they have grammar instruction and practice. Lesson 6 is different from the other lesson days. It's the culmination of the cycle. Students work on 2 activities: unpacking a super sentence and revising writing. The lesson begins with a complex multi-clause sentence from one of the 2 passages in the current 6-lesson cycle. With guidance from their teacher, students work in pairs to unpack the complex sentence by discussing the subject and predicate, paraphrasing parts of the sentence, and figuring out the relationship of each part. Next, students reread their conversational writing from Lesson 2, as well as their teacher comments, and then revise their writing. Students end this lesson by sharing their revisions. In all of these activities, there are many opportunities for speaking, listening, reading, rereading, and of course, writing. The instructional guide in the lesson offers suggestions for pair and whole class structuring to ensure that students get plenty of ways to practice these skills. Today's session was just an overview of the ELD 6-lesson cycle. I suggest you go into the curriculum and look more closely at each lesson in one full cycle to see how the lessons and activities build over the course of the cycle. For more information about the Amplify ELD 6-lesson cycle, please visit our teacher resource website and look at the section on Amplify ELD resources, or speak to your Amplify coach.